So Charlotte, although she too was tired, did what Wilbur wanted. Once upon a time, she began, I had a beautiful cousin who managed to build a web across a small stream. One day, a tiny fish leaped into the air and got tangled in the web. My cousin was very much surprised, of course. The fish was thrashing wildly. My cousin hardly dared tackle it, but she did. She swooped down and threw great masses of wrapping material around the fish and fought bravely to capture it. Did she succeed? Asked Wilbur. It was a never to be forgotten battle, said Charlotte. There was the fish, caught only by one fin and its tail widely thrashing and shining in the sun. There was the web sagging dangerously under the weight of fish. How much did the fish weigh? Asked Wilbur eagerly. I don't know, said Charlotte. There was my cousin slipping in, dodging out, beaten mercilessly over the head by the wildly thrashing fish, dancing in, dancing out, throwing her threads and fighting hard. First she threw a left around the tail, the fish lashed back. Then a left to the tail and a right to the midsection. The fish lashed back, then she dodged to one side and threw a right and another right to the fin, then a hard left to the head while the web swayed and stretched. Then what happened? Asked Wilbur. Nothing, said Charlotte. The fish lost the fight. My cousin wrapped it up so tight it couldn't budge. Then what happened? Asked Wilbur. Nothing, said Charlotte. My cousin kept the fish for a while and then, when she got good and ready, she ate it. Tell me another story, begged Wilbur. So Charlotte told him about another cousin of hers who was an aeronaut. What is an aeronaut? Asked Wilbur. A balloonist, said Wilbur. My cousin used to stand on her head and let out enough thread to form a balloon. Then she'd let out and be lifted into the air and carried upward on the one wind. Is that true? Asked Wilbur. Or are you just making up? It's true, replied Charlotte. I have some very remarkable cousins, and now, Wilbur, it's time you went to sleep. Sing something, begged Wilbur, closing his eyes. So Charlotte sang a lullaby while crickets chirped in the grass and the barn grew dark. This was the song she sang. Sleep, sleep, my love, my only, deep, deep in the dawn and the dark. Be not afraid and be not lonely. This is the hour when frogs and thrushes praise the world from the woods and the rushes. Rest from care, my one and only, deep in the dawn and the dark. But Wilbur was already asleep. When the song ended, Fawn got up and went home. Chapter 14, Dr. Dorian. The next day was Saturday. Fawn stood at the kitchen sink, drying the breakfast dishes as her mother washed them. Mrs. Arabelle worked silently. She hoped Fawn would go out and play with the other children instead of heading for the Zuckerman's barn to sit and watch animals. Charlotte is the best storyteller I've heard, said Fawn, poking her dish towel into a cereal bowl. Fawn, said her mother sternly, you must not invent things. You know spiders don't tell stories. Spiders can talk. Charlotte can, replied Fawn. She doesn't talk very loud, but she talks. What kind of story did she tell? Asked Mrs. Arabelle. Well, began Fawn. She told us about a cousin of hers who caught a fish in a web. Don't you think that's fascinating? Fawn, dear, how would a fish get in a spider's web? Said Mrs. Arabelle. You know it couldn't happen. You are making this up.